All right, welcome back to another new podcast where we take a look at the updates for the month of July, guys. There's not going to be a lot of interesting information, but there is going to be a little bit of stuff that I will be talking about in this topics for today because we not have one, we don't have two, we don't have three, but four. First of all, let me get a drink before I continue with the stream. That tastes better. So the first topic I would like to talk about would have to be everyone that should be talking about right now, and it's the women's heavyweight champion of the world. I think what makes this one a little bit interesting, guys, there's not a lot of females in the heavyweight. But as long as you're 175 pounds, you are eligible to be in the women's heavyweight division. Now that's fair, which is weird because I look up the weight class. It does say women are allowed to be 175 pounds, but they also have a cruiserweight, which women don't care about. I just don't think women care about the heavyweight or the cruiserweight. So people just say, forget it, that's dead. So I don't know why they don't get rid of that weight class. But it also says here, when you look up the list of female world champions as of right now, it also says here, while trying to type this in, and I'm going to talk about Clarissa Shields in just a minute, but while looking it up, which is weird because I just find this hilarious to talk about because it's stupid, but yet again, it is what it is. When you look up on Wikipedia a list of current female world boxing champions and you see the heavyweight, it says that the heavyweight is 200 plus pounds. But it also says plus 168 pounds, which that's the same weight class as the super middleweight. Even the light heavyweight is 168 and a quarter to 175 pounds. So I find it really confusing that the heavyweight also says in women that not only that you could be 175 pounds or 200, which says there, if you just get rid of that crappy cruiserweight that women don't care, it also says 168 pounds. So I don't know. I find that really confusing. But anyway, nonetheless, this is what I got from all the information. Let's start out with Vanessa LePage, WBC World Heavyweight Champion from 2016 to March 19th, May the 13th, and December the 23rd. She had 3 fights. Her debut was against a 2-0 woman, 2-1, and 1-1. Those were the records of her fights. She got split decision, a unanimous decision, and her last fight was a 3rd-round cornerman retirement and couldn't answer to the final bell of the 4th round. All those fights were 4 rounds. Then in August the 12th, 2017, she takes on Alejandro Jimenez, which some people thought is a transgender, a man dressed up like a woman. But yet again, I don't want to get into that. But the woman was 8-0. She was the WBC World Heavyweight Champion at the time. She knocked out Vanessa at round 3 by TKO, and Vanessa never fought again. She comes back in March 23rd, 2023, about 5.5 years, and she fights against a 2 and 1-1 person, goes 4 rounds. She goes in a 6-round fight in May the 5th against a woman with 1 win, 3 losses, 1 draw, and it also ends in the first round when the round ended and the woman decided not to answer the bell for round 2, so another cornerman retirement. Those are the only 2 knockdowns Vanessa has had in her career. Both knockouts were cornerman retirements. So you can tell that Vanessa is not a knockout power puncher. And then on September the 8th, she takes on a woman with 3 wins and 1 loss. Now, someone said that this was also a contenders for the WBC at the time, so whoever wins is top contender. Well, she goes 6 rounds with the woman and wins. And then March the 7th this year, she takes on Abril Argentina Vidal for the WBC vacant World Heavyweight Champion. They go 10 rounds to decision with one judge scoring at 96-94, favoring Argentina. But the other two judges had 97 to 93, favoring Vanessa. She's the world heavyweight champion. She's 28 years old. And I just find this one really hard. Because, guys, if Argentina won this fight instead of the Canadian woman, just keep this in mind, Vanessa LePage is Canadian, Clarissa Shields is American. What does this have to do with the heavyweight? Well, guys, there's a lot of females that are in the heavyweight when it comes to around country after country, whether it's Colombia, Brazil, also Australia, and most importantly, surprising or not, which is hilarious, they once had a Vietnamese woman as well, and New Zealand. And also they had one that's actually Nigerian. But yet again, how do we know that these females, now these females are ranked in the box, Rick, but they don't have a lot of records into them. So it's going to be really hard to say to yourself who's going to travel to this country, because not a lot of fans don't know who these females are. So I think that's the problem, because if Vanessa didn't win, I don't think this heavyweight title would never be involved, because Vanessa and Clarissa are both North Americans. So I think if Vanessa didn't win, this fight would have never happened. As for Clarissa Shields, her career is this. Her debut fight, she takes on undisputed future champion Cruz Dezum by 4 rounds. That was November 19, 2016, her debut. Her second fight, she goes 4-round TKO for the North American Boxing Federation middleweight. Then she decides to go super middleweight at one point, wins 8 rounds by WBC silver super middleweight, and then she takes on Nikki Adler, knocks her out, finishes her in round 5 by TKO for the IBF and WBC super middleweight title. That would be her final knockout in her career on August 4th, 2017, because by 2018, on January the 12th, her first defense for that belt and her last ones, she will never knock out another boxer again. She takes on Tori Nelson, wins. She has a few more fights against Hannah Gabriels, Hannah Racken, Femke Hermans, and during the time, and around 2018, after Tori Nelson, when she defended the belt for the super middleweight, her second fight that year in June 22nd, she went to middleweight at 159.5 pounds. So this is when she became middleweight. And then she takes on Christine Hammer in April of 2019, undisputed. So on January the 10th, 2020, she goes down 153 pounds in the super welterweight. Defeats Ivana Habazin, Maria Eva Dekari on March the 5th, 2021. She's undisputed there. She comes back in 2022, back to the middleweight, defeats Emma Cousin. And then she defeats Savannah Marshall on October to get back her WBO belt that she lost. And now she defends it. She wins the WBF World Middleweight belt against Marcelo Cornejo in June last year, which I wish to God it should have been a knockout win. Guys, it's so bad that you see all these fights with Cornejo, Emma Cousin, Maria Eva Dekari, and also Ivana Habazin, or even Femke Hermans, Hannah Racken, and even Tori Nelson. Like, all those fights ended in every single round being won by Clarissa Shields. Those fights were squash matches. I just feel bad that this is what we're going to witness today. We're going to witness Vanessa LePage getting dominated in 10 rounds. Both of these girls are not knockouts. But yet again, I guess the heavier you are, the harder you fall down. But understand, guys, like Vanessa was 183 pounds during her debut in 2016. 2 months, she was 182. And then in December, she was 199 pounds. And then she weighed 231 pounds in August of 2017. Yeah. And then by 2023, she comes back at 184 pounds. May, 182. She was 178 pounds in September. She won the title when she was at 173 pounds, question mark. See, that's the problem, guys. Now we're saying that even though it says that if you're at 175 pounds, you are eligible to fight for a heavyweight title, even her opponent that she won the WBC belt, Abril Argentina Vidal, is 170.75 pounds when she fought against Vanessa for this WBC title. Which now, when looking at the list of current female world champions, it says that if you're 200 pounds, you're eligible. It also says on Wikipedia in another area, it says that if you're 175 pounds, you're eligible. But here it also says plus 168 pounds. Also, that's super middleweight. If you're 168 and a quarter pound, that means you're light heavyweight. You can also fight for the heavyweight title. This doesn't make sense. I know they're trying to make women's boxing less, like, incompetent, because females are not big. Like, a 5'6" woman is like the perfect height for a woman. No offense, but that's Family Feud. Just if you guys haven't heard about that Family Feud question, then you might not know. 5'6" is a perfect height for a woman. But bodies and such, that's a really hard thing. Like, if you can find a 6 foot tall woman like Vonda Ward, but yeah, again, I think a lot of females are basketball players at that height, so who's going to box in heavyweight? So I'm sure when you look at this, they don't want to see a bunch of grown, huge, big women with big tummies and guts, and I just don't think fans want to see that. They don't want to see, it's like if you're watching a WWE show back in the day, where even if you say Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik fight each other, like that Maccabi Mania thing, if you viewers have heard about that information, of how out of shape they were and such. No one wants to see that type of stuff, of out of shape men doing that. No one wants to see that. So for women's heavyweight boxing, it just makes that really hard for fans to watch this. Clarissa Shields is in perfect shape. If she doesn't knock out Vanessa in a round, or even 2 rounds, or even 3 rounds like Jimenez did to her in 2017, then this might be a terrible fight. If she goes 10 rounds to decision, this might be a terrible fight. But yet again, we just have to wait and see. It's July the 27th. And guys, speaking about the weight class and such, not only she's fighting for the WBC belt that Vanessa has, she's also fighting for the WBO World Light Heavyweight title, which is actually a light heavyweight belt on the line. And people are saying that if Clarissa wins, she's going to be a 4-time weight class champion. But as talking about the resume of Clarissa Shields is champ, she became super middleweight in her earlier career. Then she became middleweight. By 2020, 2021, she was a super welterweight. That's 3 weight classes. If she wins this, not only is the world light heavyweight title, that's her 4th weight class, but the heavyweight is also a 5th weight class, which means she's going to be a 5-time weight class champion. So why is the media saying that she's going to be a 4-time weight class champion? That doesn't make sense. Also, guys, a couple weeks ago, it stated that not only she's fighting for those 2 belts, they're also fighting for the WBA interim belt. But now, as looking this up right now, it actually says here that they're going to switch it from an interim WBA to a WBF World Heavyweight title. So that's interesting. And here's the title reigns of all the belts that were on the line. Now, the WBF World Heavyweight belt was first on the line in December 19th, 2009, when Natasha Rogozina, my favorite female boxer of all time, defeats Pamela London, which she was 237 pounds at the time, but Natasha was 172 pounds. She was a 5'11.5" tall woman, so her body and her size and her weight and her height was the perfect fit for that. But like I said before, 172 pounds versus 137 pounds, that's crazy, isn't it? That's ridiculous. Surprisingly, she knocked her out in round 8 by KO. It was a great knockout, a good punch that ended, and Natasha retired from that. She also won the WIBF World Heavyweight title that same night, which was on the line, and that was the fight. That was the last time those titles were on the line. So yeah, now after 14 years, they're bringing back the belt. So hey, let's see if this match is going to be better than Natasha's win in 2009. I don't think so. The WBO World Light Heavyweight title was on the line since March the 30th, 2019, when Giovanna Perez defeated Lonnie Daniels, she's also a champion as of right now. Giovanna already lost her first ever fight in her pro career in 2017, but her last fights were all wins. She won against Lonnie Daniels in March 2019. She defended it by TKO. in round 8 in October that same year against a nobody, and she retired as well. And that was it. That was the last of the titles. As for the WBC belt, well, the WBC belt was fought not once, not twice, not third, not fourth, fifth, sixth, 7 times, but now make it 8 times. Like I said, Vonda Ward won the belt back in February the 10th, 2007 against Martha Salazar. And then the belt was retired until November 8th, 2014, when Martha Salazar, after 7.5 years of that loss, she took on Tansy Daniel, got 10 rounds and won. And then she held on to the belt for a long time until March 18, 2016, when Alejandra Jimenez defeated her by majority decision. Alejandra defeated Charlotte Yu in the first round by a really dominating fight in 57 seconds of the first round. On April the 1st. And then on August the 12th, she took on, like I said, Vanessa LePage, as we said, round 3 TKO. And then she retired the belt, this or that, and then that whole controversy of the drug test she had in 2020 with Cruz. I don't have to tell you viewers about that controversy and the Cornerman story there. And then April 17, 2021, Hannah Gabriels defeated Martha Patricia by round 2 TKO. And originally, they were already trying to schedule a fight in 2023 with a rematch with Hannah versus Clarissa, but that fight never materialized, so that's why that fight in June against Clarissa and that nobody woman with 5 losses was the fight. Yeah. And yeah, March 7th, 2024, Vanessa won, and now she's retaining it this month of July of 27. So, what do I have to say about the heavyweight? To be honest, guys, here's the thing you viewers have to know. Guys, it's stated that in heavyweight, only 2 of the heavyweight titles are on the line in the heavyweight women's boxing, and that's the WBC and the IBF. The WBO and the WBA are not. There is no championship belts. There is no WBA or WBO heavyweight champions in women's boxing. Even for WBC, it says that there's only a WBO, WBA, and IBF title, but there's no WBC women's light heavyweight title. So, for reasons why these belts are not on the line, or there's no inaugural championship on the line, I just hope that maybe if Clarissa Shields can bring these titles to life, this might bring in a new story. So this might be a new chapter, but yet again, there's not a lot of females in boxing, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the future. I think there's more to it, but it's probably for the best to just wait until the fight happens. Like I said, it's going to happen in Detroit, so we'll just see what happens when time goes on. Okay. Muslim God Jemagomedov taking on Zhaoxing Zhang, or as his first name is, Zhang Zhaoxing. This is for the WBA Bridgerweight title, and I know people don't want to talk about this title or the weight class, but yet again, it exists, so it already exists right now, so yeah, guys, it stinks. So, guys, what does this title have to do, guys? Here's the thing, guys. The reason I'm talking about this topic is something interesting. Now, Muslim Gomedov, I'll spell his half of his last name, he's been in the amateur boxing for a lot. In December 24, 2021, his debut was against a 17-8 fighter. He goes round 2 KO. And then instead, he retires. He just continues boxing. He took a long hiatus at that time until October 2022. He fought one tournament in the amateur. And then 2023, he fights. He loses against gold medalist of the 2021 Tokyo Olympic Games, Julio Cesar La Cruz. The secondary heavyweight, not the super heavyweight, like Bakajir defeated Richard Torres. Not that. That's a different heavyweight. That's a super heavyweight. Julio Cesar was the heavyweight gold medalist in the second tier when he defeated Muslim. And then by May, he went on, he wins, he barely squeaks out a good win against Lazizbek Malajanov, which that's also another an amateur fighter that has had great wins in his career. And surprisingly, that guy also defeated Julio Cesar Cruz, and he also took on Jalalov, the gold medalist of 2021 super heavyweight. He did defeat him last December in 2022. So yeah, these countries are really good. And then by that, he decides to go back to heavyweight. Muslim did. October 27th, he defeats a fight 8 rounds. And then 6 weeks later, on December the 9th, he goes against Arthur Mann, 20-3, wins by round 8, ring tournament retirement, and now that's it. But Zhang, the Chinese fighter, his career is out of control. 2017 debut, split decision draw. Not good. He wins some fights against, nobodies. And then in January the 19th, he takes on a fighter with 10 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, gets dominated, his first loss. But he tries to recover, wins some fights. By that year, he took on a man with 9 wins, undefeated, gets him out in the first round. And then that made his career bigger in 2020 when he won the WBC Asian Cruiserweight. When he did, July 17th, 2021, he takes on Riyad Murray for the WBA World Cruiserweight. Riyad dominated him. It was a squash match, 8 rounds by TKO. Not one round was won by Zhang. And guys, just so you viewers know, Joey Zhang, there's no relation to that. Guys, Zhang is actually a first name by a Chinese person. If you look up Chinese names, they'll always say that the last name is Zhang, but in real life, Zhang is actually the first name. In China, they always represent their first name as their last name, and their last name is their first name, if that makes any sense. But anyway, Zhang Zhaoxing is his last name. He takes on Raleigh Lambert 2 years after his loss. So he took 2-year hiatus. This was an underdog win. This guy was 16, 1-1 at the time, and Zhaoxing won. He barely won by 10 rounds. And then come February, he takes on Evgeny Romanov, 19-0. And Romanov was already past out his prime at the time, 38 years old. And also, they were both 221 pounds. Zhaoxing decided that he was 198 pounds at the time in August during his last win against Raleigh Lambert. And then he gained 20 pounds in 221 to take on Romanov. So that technically, this is also for Bridgerweight contenders. They're in the Bridgerweight at this moment. Romanov knocked out Zhaoxing in the final seconds of the first round. But wait, Zhaoxing knocked back him in round 2, and the fight was over. Romanov, 19-0, has lost his first fight in an underdog story. Now, Zhaoxing, I just don't think he's going to win. He's a good 6'2" guy, but I don't think these Chinese boxers knows how dangerous these Russian fighters are. And even though Muslim only has 3 wins in his professional career, I do see this 12-round fight being an interesting fight. This fight's going to take place on July the 12th. 2024 this year. There's also another fight for a WBA interim world super featherweight title against a couple other guys, but that's has nothing to do with it. But yeah, that's all I can say, guys, is this, that considering whoever wins is the winner. Also, keep this in mind, guys. By the way, Muslim did decide to go back to amateur on April this year, and he won 4 fights against some interesting good fighters at the time. Some hard, tough fighters, and he barely won the tournament for the EUBC Elite Men's Champion in Belgrade this year in April. So that's another tournament he won. But if he can win this WBA Bridgerweight title, if he doesn't go 8 rounds, better, yeah, if he doesn't knock out Zhaoxing Zhang in 8 rounds or even 7 or 6 rounds or something like that, more than how Riyad Murray did it him in 8 rounds, then we might not see this guy win. Now, I don't think Muslim is that much of a power puncher, but still, he's 27 years old. He's a really dangerous fighter. Zhang, on the other hand, well, he is 28 years old. Both of these guys are in the Bridgerweight division right now, so if Muslim can win this fight, I think this might up his standards as a heavyweight contender. I could actually see this guy being a really scary opponent in the next years of this decade. as long as boxing doesn't keep on, as long as the heavyweight boxing doesn't keep on going in 2024 and 2025 and 2026 with only 3 fighters we're talking about, and those fighters are Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois, and Anthony Joshua, then who knows? Because, guys, I want to see these great fighters have a chance to make it to the big time. And Muslim, Gomedov might have a chance. If he defeats Zhang for this WBA Bridgerweight title, he might have a chance to get some recognition, and he might win. But I think he has to wait for that opportunity until all the dust clears out. And I think every other fighter has to know about that boxing isn't... People aren't talking about these guys yet because the only fighters people are talking about in the heavyweight boxing are just Alexander Usyk, AJ, Fury, and Dubois. No one's talking about Ajit Caballel or even Joey Zhang for that matter, or even Joseph Parker or Jared Anderson. Maybe they are, but the only people that have heavyweight titles are Dubois and Usyk. That's it. Like, guys, here's the problem. If Alexander Usyk, if they do have a rematch with Fury in December, what's going to happen then? Usyk might win, and then what's his next fight? His next fight's going to be AJ or Dubois if one of them win in Wembley this September? What? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And what's the month again? September the 21st at Wembley. Sheesh. And what are they going to do? Have a rematch with Usyk? Why do we want to have a rematch with Usyk? Like, we're here to see other contenders have a chance for a title shot. Hell, Martin Bakal has been #1 in the WBA for a long time, for a year now. Well, almost a year after Deontay lost his recognition. It's such a ridiculous aspect. And he's taking on Jared Anderson, the guy that failed a DUI when getting arrested for operating under the influence this spring this year. It's such ridiculous. Guys, there's so many other great boxers in the rankings right now, but if Usyk wins, he might take on Anthony Joshua or Dubois this year and next year in 2025. What's his next fight going to be in 2026? Dubois? Or AJ? What about the other fighters that are trying to have a shot for the title? Like, guys, Phil Perkovich has had so much time going for a title shot that it failed because the referees and everyone, they screwed Phil Perkovich on purpose to give Daniel Dubois the win because he's British and they just don't want British people to lose the heavyweight title. And that's it. We have Anthony Joshua and Dubois, both British. None of the Britishes are going to lose the IBF title, and that's it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, man. No, I'm not buying that. That is such BS, and I hate every bit of it, and I just hope Muslim doesn't get involved with this because this is why I want Alexander Usyk to just retire the belts. That's that. End quote. All right, with only a couple more topics, guys, the third topic I like to talk about is this, and most importantly, guys, I might as well talk about this now than later. Just to let you viewers know, guys, until this podcast is over, don't click out yet because I actually have some deleted footage of a video that I haven't uploaded on YouTube yet, and I'm going to upload it on this podcast as of today. So it's going to be a deleted, unseen footage I haven't released on my podcast yet. So I'll release it on this video as soon as I can. But mostly, as for anyone else, just sit back and relax. So there's one fight I'm just a little bit ridiculous about talking about, and this fight, speaking about the WBC Bridgerweight title, this is ridiculous when it comes to... It's ridiculous. It's such ridiculous. And let me just find the sheet. Where's my sheet? Wait, where is it? I already wrote down a lot of information about this fight, even though it's only one round of distance in 3 minutes of the first and only round. So let me see. Where's the fight? Lawrence Okolie versus Lucas Razonsky for the WBC Bridgerweight title on May the 24th, 2024, live in Poland. So we already know last year ago, Alan Babic lost his trainer last year. He took all his energy on while Lucas took it calm in that fight last year. And Lucas just demolished him, knocked him down, got him bloodied on in the first and only round, ending Alan Babic, his boxing career. Lucas Razonsky might be the first guy at over 200 pounds to ever win a world boxing title, and it was a Bridgerweight title, not a heavyweight. Guys, the first thing I can laugh my butt off is that Lawrence Okolie comes, and guys, here's the information you viewers have to know. Lucas Razonsky is 6'1". His reach advantage is a 74. But Lawrence Okolie is 6'5", British. He's 82.5 reach advantage. The reach advantage, the height, is what ended this fight. Now, guys, I don't like Lawrence Okolie after his fight with Matty Askin in 2018 with how many friggin' quitches and fouls and points for that fight and how boring. I didn't really enjoy much about his title defense. Win as much due to the holding against him and David White last year in 2023 when he defended his WBO belt and he was deducted a point for holding. Like, I don't like Lawrence Okolie's boxing strats and some of this stuff. I was happy that Chris Billam Smith beated him last May of 2023 last year. And when I watched this fight, I was like, oh, great, Lucas is going to kick his butt. But when I look at the height and the reach advantage, it's obvious. So the referee, and it puts both Lawrence and Lucas Razonsky, and they tell him the instructions, the fight, touch them gloves. And instead of the cameras cutting out to the ring, they decided to wait for the crew in the studio truck to put the name of the referee. The referee looks at Lawrence Okolie, and then he looks at the camera with this creepy smile with his head. It's such a creepy smile. And then after that, we finally get to his name, Daniel Van D. I'm not saying that. And they put the camera on his face for a long time. It's such a creepy. It's so creepy. But yes. So then they cut the camera back, and then they show the, the record, the stance, and how many knockouts, their weight, and such. Even though I can't tell what, it's ridiculous. So also, Razonsky is also 38 years old, while Lucas, Okolie is 31. So the age might play a factor as well. Lawrence is bouncing around the ring, while Lucas is keeping his energy. And Lucas is just pounding his glove. He's taking it easy, trying to remain calm, while Lawrence is bouncing around. And the referee is trying to make sure to back him up because he's already in the middle ring right now. Like, they're waiting for the bell to ring, and Lawrence just wants to end this fight. Like, he knows this is going to be an easy fight for him. So they ring the bell, and the fight starts on. First jab of the day is Lawrence throwing a left, and then Lucas throws his downstairs. He throws up. They're both staying aside each other as best as they can, and the only time when you see them throwing punches is when they start clinching, because Lawrence goes for the attack, and for the next 10 seconds while they're clinching each other, like, the referee's doing nothing. Like, he's just waiting for them to get off the clinch right now. Lawrence is throwing his hard punches while Lucas is doing the same thing. Like, they're just throwing punches while clinching, and Lawrence managed to push him straight to the ropes, tiring him out, because strategies do say that if you can actually push them and put your your whole weight against the ropes of your opponent. It might tire them. So that's what Lawrence Okali's strategy was. And then out of nowhere, Lawrence manages to punch on, throw combinations, but they're still clinching. It was... Dude, Lawrence Okali's boxing strat is just not good. With only 50 seconds into the fight, Lucas goes for somewhat of an interesting, sneaky left punch, only for Lawrence to throw back his right punch. And then when he does, Lucas actually puts his hands in the air and does some weird chicken dance for some reason, which I question mark. A chicken dance, backs to the ropes, and then Lawrence corners him to the rope, and then they clinch again, and then while clinching, he throws another punch hitting Lucas. Like, don't get me wrong, Lucas is doing some punches as well. The referee warns Lucas for that as well, but he also warned Lawrence as well. It's ridiculous. And then Lucas goes for his own punching and clinches him as well. But no matter what, Lawrence is punching him through. He does this. He goes under his head. And the referee warns him again for that. Like, we're in the first round, and we're already getting some warnings right now. It's ridiculous. And then suddenly, with 1 minute 10 seconds of the fight... 1 minute and 10 seconds of the fight, Lucas goes for a left punch, misses because his reach advantage isn't that far away. Like I said before, his reach advantage is his arms are short. He goes for a quick jab left, misses. That exposes him for Lawrence to throw a perfect right. Down goes Lucas. Seeing how Arthur Spilka knocked down Lucas Rozalski in 2021 in the first round, only for Lucas to knock him back and win the first round. 2 years later, he takes care of Alan Babic in first round. It goes to show you that Lucas had no boxing skills to even survive in far rounds in his career. And Lawrence knew that. He attacked him through, he threw another punch, and then he blacks him to the rope and gets him down again. And then the fight ends. The fight ends when, out of nowhere, Lawrence is putting his left glove, trying to study him, and then Lucas trying to throw a punch downstairs. Lawrence throws a punch again, back. He backs him to the ropes again, and then he's throwing punch after punch, throws a right, and then brings him back again. At this moment, he already got knocked down 3 times, so why is the referee counting this? Just end the fight. With only 10 seconds of the fight, he gets back up. The referee just thinks, end the fight. He counts to 8. Fight's over. At 2 minutes and 55 seconds of the fight, Lawrence Okali hugs his opponent, wins a fight. And then, which is weird because I think his trainer tried to put a headlock on him. When after Lawrence Okali hugs him, he turns around and his trainer puts a headlock on him for some reason. That was kind of hilarious for some reason. But yeah. All I can say, guys, that this fight... Guys, it's such a bad thing to see these types of fights. Like, guys, these Polish boxers are just filled with bad luck. It's like, no matter what you do when you're in the heavyweight division of boxing, like, Polish fighters can become cruiserweight champions, and we have a Bridgerweight champion here, but man... I feel like Polish boxers just don't have the style. Like, their style is not good when it comes to British boxers or heavyweight boxers in America or even Russia or Ukraine. It's a really dangerous situation to see this type of stuff when you have a person dominating your fighter in your country. I feel bad watching this fight, and it still upsets me to this day that Lucas Rozalski just never had that chance of boxing through, because at the end of the day, it ended sadly, and I hated every bit of it. So, the final topic I like to talk about before ending the stream is interesting, because this might not be interesting to a lot of you viewers, but surprising after looking this up, it's interesting. So in 2009, on June the 6th, Big George Foreman's son, his third son, George Edward Foreman III, as George Foreman, because all his sons is named after George Foreman, the first, second, third, etc., etc. And his son boxes in his debut back in 2009 at the age of 26. He boxes some fights. He wins like 4 fights in a row against nobodies, against jobbers and such. Knockout after first round knockout, second round, and then come in 2010, he fights 6 fights. And the fights that were against guys that are in their debut, or just had no wins, or just jobber journeyman records. He goes 6 rounds of distance against one fighter, 6 rounds of distance, and then another fight. And then in 2011, he fights 4 fights against nobodies again. He's building up his record the same way his father did back in the day. And then in 2012, from February, he fights another fight by TKO, and then he retires in December 6, 2012 with his last fight. Foreman is a 6'5" tall dude. His alias is the Monk. And mostly his boxing career, with 16 wins and 15 knockouts, he did not take on one good contender during those years. It's bad. But then, 11 and a half years later, longer than how his father retired in 77 to 87, May the 19th, 2024, George Foreman III comes out of retirement against a guy named Juan Lopez Alcaraz. 5 wins, 34 losses, 3 draws. He finishes him off in the second round by TKO. But wait, come June the 28th, 2024, he boxes against a guy with 7 wins, 16 losses, and 1 draw. Ends in first round by TKO, named Juan Reyna. And also, guys, what makes this interesting is that George Foreman back in the day from 2009, he was actually around 230 to 239 pounds during his time. And then in 2011, he was 240 to 248 pounds at the time. And then back at 237. Itchy nose. But then in 2024, he's 255 pounds. Now in the last month of June, a week ago, he was 267 pounds. Yeah. What's interesting is I looked up George Foreman III. And it did say that he came out of retirement with his last bout was in 2024 in Tijuana, his second last bout, the first one, not the other, when it stated that the analyst mentioned that Foreman possesses similarities to his father's boxing traits, such as his stamina and power. Other analysts have commented that Foreman has a great combination of strength, speed, and agility. Foreman's power is also evident when looking at his boxing record. He is 17-16 of his wins having been a KO or a TKO, and 1 win by UD. We'll make that 18-17 by knockout last week ago. But still, whether that's true or not, he has to take on good opposition fighters. So I think the problem is, guys, what I'm looking at is that George Foreman, here's the thing. George Foreman is now 41 years old, the third. This is now 15 years since he started boxing. I can say maybe George Foreman III might have 5 years into his career at this point. On August the 24th, 2024, he's going to go to North Carolina to box another fight. But then after that, on September the 28th, he's going to box again. So he's going to try to build up a 20-0 record. He's ranked 245 in the world right now, but again, he's 41 years old. He hasn't boxed good opposition. Just because his ability and his strength is good doesn't mean he has to fight better opposition. Now, what I suggest that if Foreman's trying to get to a 20-0 record and build himself up before he takes a big fight, I understand that. If he wants to go 20-0 and then he'll be ready for his big fight. But still, I just don't see a good comeback here. Like, any second now, if you say that, oh, Don King is going to sign him up, or the WBA world title with Manuel Char is going to be stripped and vacated, and then someone's going to give something to him, and that would be a 20-1. No way. I would like to see him take on Kevin Johnson. That's ranked number 242, 3 ranks on top of him. 3 ranks. Like, he's ranked 242, and George Foreman's ranked 245. But yet again, I want to see him take on Junior Anthony Wright. Like, he's 37 years old, ranked 228 in the world. So, yeah. Or better yet, how about Adam Stewart? A guy that's ranked number 99 BoxRec. Don't know much about his strategic, except he has a big beard and a mustache and he's bald. Goatee. He's 15 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. And he's 35 years old. But hey, it might be an interesting win for either of them. So, but yeah, again, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah. By the way, guys, who knows what's going to happen, but that's the way it goes. All right, guys, thanks for watching this stream and this podcast. But there's one more thing I'd like to show you, viewers. I'm going to show you, viewers, an unseen footage right now. So even though this podcast is over, don't click out of this video yet as this podcast is over. Also, guys, I'm already trying to review UFC 2. Guys, I already did UFC 1, The New Beginning, as requested by myself. So next time on my next GLOAT podcast, I'm going to try to get to UFC 2, No Way Out. So that being said, we'll see you next time.